we always say, look, if a team scores a goal against you and they deserve it and they play good football, you hold your hand up and say, great job, well done, what a really good goal that was. But not one of those three that we conceded today could we really say that, and we were involved a little bit with them. So, you know, I think we'll go back and take a look at that one and try and get a little bit better. But as far as the team shape and as far as a big test, given that their boxing midfield is difficult to play through, I think it was great tactically for them, and very pleased to see Trinity Rodman get her goal. I thought Hatchie looked really sharp and dangerous too. Some real good positives out of the game.
If you could, since you brought up Trinity, could you maybe speak a little more about what you saw out of her? It looked like, at least from my perspective, that she's improved quite a bit since even the recent preseason game against New Jersey. Yeah,
look, you know, the kid she's brilliant. She's a machine as an athlete, just unbelievable machine. And, you know, you play against her, you train with her, you see how quickly she closes you down. She's deceptively quick, you know, to close you down. But now she's getting tactically better too. She's a handful, but she's getting tactically better. And, you know, today one of the big things was to listen Trent out of possession, drop in and pick up one of the deep players in their box and help Sanchez out a little bit. And she did it great. She took to it really, really well. So if we keep adding, you know, she's an 18-year-old kid. If we keep adding little pieces like that into her, and she takes it on board that quickly and does that well in games, don't forget that's no team of mugs. That's a really good team right there. She does that well against a side like that, then, you know, we're in really good shape.
Appreciate it, Richie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Emily, you can go next.
Hey, Richie, thought I'd come and ask my question in person today.
Nice to see you as well.
Looking at the differences between the halves, just curious, one, what you can share that was said at halftime. It seemed like the pace picked up, despite the first 10 minutes when you guys did have a lot of that pressure. The second half seemed more in a groove. So just from your perspective, what were the differences in the halves for you? And besides Trinity and Trinity included, what did the subs do for you today?
Well, you know, Julia Rodda doesn't have 65, 70 minutes under her belt just yet since she arrived from Sweden, even though she played in a game for Sweden since she's got into the US. We've tried to catch up to speed. So to get her to that stage was great. And we had to get her out. And of course, Hatchie just cramped. You know, I'd like to see Hatchie's match data. I think it's really off the scale because she was back in midfield and doing a great job. So, and she had to come out. So the subs were sort of forced upon us. There were three things we talked about at halftime. And again, at halftime, you know, sometimes I can go on a bit of a rant, but at halftime it really didn't blast them out the water. It was because I knew it was a tough shift for them. And it was, you know, as Jay said a little bit earlier, a little bit of a makeshift lineup. So just getting them to react a little bit better, getting them better equipped to go and deal with what was causing those problems in the first half was what we talked about. A tactical adjustment was to make sure that Jacobs and Dorian Bailey didn't get sucked out to that deep part of midfield, and somebody dropped under, and Kumi just didn't have the wheels today to help Ash out in their deep part of midfield to pick up their 2 6s. So, you know, Kumi's crafty and tricky on the ball, but when you ask her to put in a defensive shift, she doesn't. That's not her forte. Well, as soon as Trinity steps on, now we block the balls going into that area. It allows Dorian and Jacobs to stay a little bit deeper, which they did a great job. And we talked about moving their box side to side, you know, making it go east and west. And we were not doing enough of that. We were trying to get Ash Sanchez the ball in that number 10 spot in between them in the first half, and it wasn't working. So, you know, I was trying to say to them, look, just move them east to west to start off with, make the box chase. And when an opportunity arises, instead of ramming it in there and forcing it in there, we'll get Ash on the ball and she can drive at them. So the two biggest adjustments were to make sure one of the players dropped underneath and did a 6, and that the 2 deep players never got sucked out to that deep part of the box, especially picking up the bin was very dangerous. And I thought Jacobs did a great job in the second half with that one. And then to move them east to west and get the ball into our wing backs, which, you know, I thought we did. We'll take a look at some of the match data and see the number of times we got it in those outside zones. I think Tori touched the ball significantly more, and so did Anna Helferty in those wide areas. So we got progress and we got what we wanted, you know, out of a halftime team talk that was very, very, you know, designed to be very helpful and help them perform better in the second half, which I think they did.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, a quick follow-up on that. You did mention Kumi. Based on kind of the ups and downs she had last year, the adjustments, just for her. I know that it seems like almost like ages ago with the course of the game, but that first goal, for her to be able to get it, I mean, you could see the smile on her face. What have you seen from her this preseason? And do you feel like that goal is kind of what's yet to come from her this season with how she's fitting in?
That's a very Kumi goal. You know, they don't take the net off. They don't, you know, she just places it. She gets the goalkeeper flat-footed. You know, she does it, you know, week in, week out in training. She drives Aubrey Bledsoe mad, you know, because Aubrey's looking to make a shot from a rocket. She's setting herself and boom, it just like goes in the corner because her placement is so good. That's a typical Kumi goal. We see that all the time. My issue with Coombs is not, you know, football is great, a craftiness, and she even uses her body very well to shield and roll people sometimes. I just think, you know, at halftime I asked her, "You okay?" And I could see it was a no. I'm not okay. It wasn't a resounding, "Yeah, I'm fine. Let me, no problem." But she was like, "Okay." And, you know, we went through tactical. I say, "Can you do this?" And she says, you know, and she's still learning English, and I love her. She's great. She's like, "I try." I'm like, "Okay, go in and try and see what you do." And she went in and tried, and I could see she was just, it was too much of an ask for her. So, you know, there'll be games when she lights it up because it just suits her down to the ground. You know, she came on in the game against Sky Blue at Audi and changed the game a little bit because of football and craftiness. And a game like today where it was a little bit more athletic and a little bit more asking her to put in a shift outside of possession was harder. And you know, again, great players and good players like Kumi don't become bad players overnight. We just have to put them in the right positions where they can play well for us. So I think she admitted in the second half that was a big ask for her to do that. So.
All right, one final question. Jason, go ahead.
Hi, Richie. I couldn't help but get curious again. I had to come back for one more.
That's okay, mate. Fire away.
Yeah, obviously, you know, part of this is influenced by who you're missing, but you did have to ask Rodar and McGrady to play as part of a back three. I know that's not necessarily top of the list for you as to where you want them on the field. How do you think they handled the specifics of a pretty different job, given, you know, North Carolina's attacking strength as well?
I thought they were both very, very, very good. Teague in particular, you know, that's not a familiar role for her at all. And she would love to have been in that wingback role, bombing up and down, but just needs must, right? So, you know, and when I asked her, would she play that role, you know, she's like, "Am I going to play 90? I'm like, "I bloody hope so." And she's like, "Well, I'll play that then." So, you know, she just wanted to play and she took it on board. And I thought she did a really, really good job. Her left foot's great. But her defending is a lot better than people give her credit for. And she certainly wants to get back into that national team picture. And I think if we keep moving her along, that's a chance, especially at left back when that role becomes available, because her left foot is great. And as I say, Rodda is not, you know, to play in a back three, but she can. And that's why we brought her to the football club, because she's got that versatility. She can play right wing back, left wing back. She could have played right, you know, right side of the back three. We thought Anna Helferty she dropped along at about the 65th, 70th minute, but she got an incredible second wind. So she was coming off, and we were going to put Biagalski on the right and Rodda on the left and put Teague out in the wing-back role, which just shows you their flexibility. So Rodda can play a couple of roles. And just before we were about to make the sub, I asked Julia, "You okay? You holding up?" She's like, yeah, I'm fine. And she made one run, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not fine. I might need to come." So we got Biagalski in, and she made a debut for the football club in that wing-back role. I mean, that right centre-back role. But Rodda and McGrady were very, very good.
Yeah, thanks for speaking with us. Congrats on getting a goal. Richie mentioned the amount of defensive work he was asking you to do as a priority today. How did that part of your game? I know that's not necessarily fun as a forward to be having to track back so much. But how do you think that part of your game went from your view of the way this one played out?
I think it went pretty well. I think a hard part for us as the two up top with me and Hachi, it was hard when the ball got swung to the other side, it was hard to get inside because their midfield was able to exploit us a lot. So just that shift to like drop back more than we would have to, because usually we'd be able to like hang out and stay up. But this game really showed us that we have to sometimes drop into where the midfield is. And I think it was great. I mean, it helps the team a lot, and it ultimately helps with us offensively, because once we do that little extra work defensively in the midfield, then it helps us on the counter, because then we're able to just go forward right after.
And you know, I mentioned this with Richie. The fact that it seems like even in this short amount of time with the team, it seems like you've grown quite a bit as a player. Where do you feel like you're improving the quickest at this stage, given that it's only about 10 weeks of being a pro player at this point?
My team's helped me a lot. Obviously, being a really young player and very new, it's definitely a lot faster. Girls are a lot stronger, a lot more intelligent at this level. And I think just getting advice from my teammates in scrimmages and practices and stuff like that, I've been able to kind of think ahead. And I think that's a huge part of what's helped me in the game, is just like being able to check my shoulder really fast and know what I'm going to do before I get the ball.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meg, go ahead.
Trinity, just in terms of having this first debut and then getting the debut goal, what does that actually mean for you in terms of having that kind of out of the way for you in terms of starting your pro career with the Spirit?
Yeah, I think obviously the score line, it was hard to come in at that time, but I think being able to be a player that could come off the bench and bring that needed energy to kind of lift us up is great. And obviously I was sitting on the bench, like just super eager to get in. And once I had my chance, my mentality was just so driven and I was so ready to run, kind of like I was just very excited, and I'm kind of glad I got that out of the way. I could feel kind of at ease going in next game and not be as nervous.
In terms of what you saw on the field, obviously that first debut game coming against the Courage, you know, you're walking into one of the best teams against the league. What does that kind of do to your anticipation of what you can contribute on the field?
Yeah, honestly, playing against a team like the Courage is, I think a lot of people probably would want to start off with like maybe an easier team, but for me, I think it was nice to go into such a hard game because immediately I had to be perfect kind of in a way. Like my touch had to be on point. I had to play super quickly. I needed to get into spaces, and I think it really helped me because I think I started off really strong because I had to think so fast and I had to move so quickly. So it was awesome playing against them. They're a great team.
Thanks, Trinity, and congrats on the goal.
Thank you.
Steph, go ahead.
Thanks, Jordan, and congrats, Trinity, on the debut and the goal. I kind of wanted to follow up on what Jason asked you about, which is the speed of play, and you mentioned the speed of play is faster. You know, you scored the goal. It was great. There was a moment, though, where, like, Dabinia kind of snuck up on you, you know, but, you know, she's Dabinia. So for you, you know, Richie mentioned even between preseason and now, the progress in your decision making and everything, and the speed of it has really improved. For you, what does that work look like other than, you know, just getting the reps in and the time? What's the work that you're doing in order to make that leap? For example, what changed between preseason and now that you're, you know, the jump in the speed?
I think just movement off the ball, and once you give the ball away to another one of your teammates is a huge thing. Because for me, I think obviously with college and like coming at 18 years old, you're kind of used to just like giving the ball up and just jogging, but I've improved a lot in that sense of like giving the ball off and finding another space to show, just not giving it and like kind of being like, here you go, take it. I think just knowing that I can be just as effective off the ball as I can on the ball is a huge part.
Andre, go ahead.
Hey, Trinity. When we had our interview, you mentioned that your favorite goal that you've scored was against Mexico. Do you have a new contender now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this goal was awesome. I don't know, I couldn't be happier. Obviously, the loss isn't a good thing, but getting in there and getting that goal, obviously, this is top the Mexico goal, and I hope they keep topping it.
One quick follow-up I wanted to have with you is, can you talk a little bit about what you saw, what kind of gap you saw, what made you, because I think there are multiple things about that goal that were amazing to us, the touch and the run. Wow, that went weird.
Sorry, can you repeat? It kind of cut out for a second.
Yeah, that went weird. The room went dark, so that was strange. Anyway, I was saying there are multiple parts of the goal that we loved, the touch and the control, the composed control, but I just want to know from your perspective, since we didn't get to see the all 22 of you, can you talk about a little bit about what you saw and what made you make that run?
I think what we've been trying to do is get teams, like when we get the ball, we try to get the team to switch to one side. So we try and swing it so their team can shift over. And I think as soon as the ball was kind of on the right side of the field, I looked around and I was like, whoa, there's not really that many people out here. So I just tried to stay on side and I kept my run in line. And then as soon as I saw her look up, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then there was only 2 players next to me. There was one behind me and one in front. And I kind of just went in that gap and it was a perfect ball straight to my thigh. So.
Cool. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, guys. We'll have Paige here in a few minutes.
I know against North Carolina, it's always such a big challenge because they can be very direct and you're having to play with a very unfamiliar defensive group. How do you think the team did overall in terms of maybe not just defending at the back, but also defending further up the field?
To be honest, I think our organization was pretty poor compared to how we've been training. I think it was kind of everyone's first game, and I'll take a little of the blame. I'm supposed to be the leader, and I was a little bit in my head dealing with some certain things. But overall, I think the new players that came onto our field and played today adapted so well. Offensively, we did a lot of amazing things, and we played our style of football for the most part. We had a couple of breakdowns, and right now it's just not an excuse to – we have a new formation. It's like a 3-4-1-2 or 3 – yeah. And we've been training that for 3 months. So it was just a really big test for us today, especially with a very direct team. However, we can do a lot better organizational-wise.
I know such a big part of how you guys play tends to be that connection that you as defenders have with Andy Sullivan. With her out, you had Natalie Jacobs in that role instead. How do you feel that relationship went? Because, you know, Andy might be away with the Olympics or other national team call-ups later this season.
Yeah, I mean, we had both Dorian and Natalie kind of filling that role. We had 2 defensive center mids, and I thought they did a great job filling in the gaps for us. It was very hard communicating, and it's hard to get used to players. I'm very used to Andy Sullivan, and we're really good at talking to each other, but I thought Dorian and Natalie overall did a good job. It's really about finding a flow and continuing to play with each other to find that flow, and we'll start to understand each other better, and we're going to make faster decisions that way. We still need to, like as a 3-back, we still need to, if one gets drawn out, we still need to understand that like one center mid needs to come back, and things just need to go faster. And it was pretty slow today, but I thought as the game went on, we started getting better with that.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Emily, go ahead.
Thanks, Paige, for taking the time. 2 questions here. You mentioned you've been practicing this new formation, especially the 3-back for months, but especially with Rodder and McGrady on the sides with you back there, and Jacobs in front. You also mentioned Bailey. Personnel-wise, when did you kind of know that's who was going to line up for this first Challenge Cup game, and you were able to actually start building those connections? And then the second there, is there at all a benefit? Can you look to the bright side of the fact that you were able to test this new formation against the caliber of a team like North Carolina?
Yeah, so we recently found out that was kind of how we're going to play. I haven't trained in the center at all, but we have players on our team, which is amazing, that can kind of play in multiple positions. And I think that makes us who we are, very adaptable, and we can play in any kind of formation. So it was, even when we had our internationals, we still trained like they would be on the squad. So we had to adapt very quickly. But we've been playing with each other for a while now, and we know each other's personnel and tendencies. So we just try and play off of each other like that. And then what was the second part of your question?
And then the second part was just, can you take benefit or positives that you are trying a new system against a team as tough to play against, attacking like North Carolina?
Oh yeah, we had some spells there that was so fun to even watch from the back. Sometimes like I was stuck in my tracks as I was watching. I was like, oh shoot, I need to organize the back line. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this year, and the new people that we added this year have been a huge help. And I can't say enough good things about our squad this year. And we're really deep, given that everyone's healthy and we have all of our internationals back. We're gonna have fun this year.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.